hell of a one. I got to do what I did in BC, baby. I got to go around the room. I got to go around the room, baby. I got to go around. That's good luck. That's part of the karma.
Ahead to Jackson. To a cutting August with a two-handed slam.
That was not a pretty game. It was ugly. We had to dig it out. We were physical in the paint. We took big steps forward there. Different guys rebounded, and boy, did we make clutch plays. Really made clutch plays. I'm proud of you. Let's build on this, man. Let's build on this. And remember how this feels, because this is how we're going to Durham, North Carolina. We got a chance to have some fun down there. Great job. Really proud of you. Bring it in. Right here. Right here.
To Jackson. Alley-oop for Zach! And we've got a second tackle.
Hello again, Irish fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Brey. I'm Joack Nolan. He, of course, is the head coach of the Fighting Irish. And in this league, one-on-one weeks aren't bad. And you started the week with a great offensive performance and a loss to Pitt, and then you bounced back with a really gritty performance and a win over Georgia Tech.
Well, you're right, Jack. 1-1, you kind of take that most weeks in this league, as good as this league is. Disappointed that we didn't start out better defensively against Pittsburgh, but love how we fought back and gave ourselves a chance to win. Great bounce-back victory against Georgia Tech.
As a team, do you think you got better this week?
I do think we have gotten better, and I think we've got to keep that in mind, that this is a team that will improve all the way up to the ACC tournament. Can we just pick off enough to stay in the mix while we're improving?
Notre Dame had one of their best offensive days of the year on this floor against Pitt. The problem was Pitt was a little better. We'll show you the highlights coming up right after this.
Coming up on Inside Notre Dame Basketball.
I love what our group did. We hung in there. We got down twice big. We battled back, but we got to get off to better starts to win league games.
Ryan on over to Vastoria. Vastoria finds an opening all the way in. He lays it up and in.
I always try playing with like fearless and relentless. You know, I play like it's the last game. You know, you can't take it for granted. You know, it's a blessing to play this game, and you know, being able to play is just a great feeling.
Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Brey is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Basketball is also sponsored by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Canon, Xfinity, Meyer, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, SiriusXM Satellite Radio, and UPS.
Your team really had some momentum coming off the big win at Boston College. You take on a Pitt team that's now ranked 17th, but unfortunately, you missed your first 4 shots. They hit their first 8 and quickly built an 18-point lead.
Yeah, getting off to a good start in league play, especially at home, is so important, and Pittsburgh was really hot. Some of it was defensive breakdowns, some of it wasn't, them just making some tough shots. Now you're digging out of a hole the whole way, and that is exhausting.
I really thought Pitt put on one of the great first half offensive performances here I've ever seen. You made some adjustments. They just made shots. Even when you pushed them way beyond the arc, they were making those.
You know, we got them out where they were shooting jump shots, challenge jump shots, and they were knocking those down. I love what our group did. We hung in there. We got down twice big. We battled back. And for us to have a chance to win it as well as Pitt was shooting the ball, I'm really proud of our group, but we got to get off to better starts to win league games.
You know, Pitt, a lot of people don't realize this. They're now second in the nation in offensive efficiency. You're third, and you shot the ball really well. Lost in the loss was the fact you shot it after missing those first 4 shots. 57% in the first half, 52% in the second half. I bet if I told you that before the game, you would have felt pretty good.
If you would have told me we shoot 54% for the game, score 82 points, I'm thinking that's a league win. But Pitt was off the charts. They have reinvented themselves and become a little bit more of an offensive group. They're really hard to guard.
Demetrius Jackson led 2 huge comebacks in this game. The first at the end of the first half, where you cut it to 4, went in down 6. You thought you came out with momentum, and Pitt just fired away again and built another 18-point lead.
You know, to come back from 2 18-point deficits shows the character of this group. Demetrius really did set a tone. I thought he was leading not only with his play, but how he talked to our guys in huddles and especially at halftime. But we defended well enough. We got into a good enough defensive rhythm to give ourselves a chance, but we needed that one big defensive stop. Couldn't get that, didn't deserve to win.
The one thing I did like, as disappointing as it was, the second 18-point lead, most teams at that point, even good teams, kind of folded. And you guys didn't, and you came back to cut it down to 2. And that said a lot to me about the foundation of this team that you can build on.
There's no question, Jack. I love my team. There's good stuff there. They fight, they battle, they want to win, they want to be coached. So, you wanted to use some of that to kind of get you ready then for the Georgia Tech game.
So when you met with your staff on Sunday after reviewing the video, what were your thoughts about what you had to do to take the next step?
I felt we needed to think about maybe starting the game differently with a different lineup, and not to demote Bonzie Colson. Bonzie Colson is a key guy for us, and we're not going anywhere without him playing well. But I thought if we could get Matt Ryan in the lineup as he's getting better and getting more comfortable and getting more confident, and bring Bonzie off the bench, be that energy guy that he was last year, open the floor a little bit up offensively, and fortunately it paid off for us against Georgia Tech.
It certainly did. Coach did start Matt Ryan against Georgia Tech, and we'll show you how well that worked coming up right after this. With the starting lineup change, what I noticed was it really does, as you said in the last segment, clear the floor, because this year, with the new rules, you want your guys attacking. You want Vastoria attacking, Beecham attacking. Of course, you want Demetrius attacking. They did in this game, and it was really successful, both just getting to the basket and scoring and getting to the free throw line.
What it does, it opens the floor up for our 3 most important offensive players, Demetrius Jackson, Steve Vastoria, and Zach August. And I think they really benefit. To look up at the scoreboard early in the game and it's 9-4 us, you take a little bit of a deep breath instead of being down 10-4 and you're digging out of a hole and you're stalled offensively. Now, we still play the 2 big guys together. That's been very efficient too, but the 4-round-1 lineup with Matt Ryan or VJ Beecham as the second big is going to be important to us moving forward.
This really helped Zach August. I saw 2 things from him. I loved his intensity in this game and the way he battled. 24 points, 9 rebounds, and that little pick and roll was really working.
It really was working. And here's the interesting thing too about Zach. He was very involved offensively, looking a little bit like last year in March, screening and rolling down the lane. When he's in a good offensive rhythm like that and he's comfortable and confident, he plays better defense. And then I thought his post defense on some big bodies from Georgia Tech was the best it's been all year.
You're leading 35-31 early in the second half, and it's appropriate that we do the show right here in this corner, because this is right where a big play occurred. Steve Astoria dives to the floor and takes a rebound away from Charles Mitchell, gets it to Demetrius, who gets it to a streaking August for a dunk. I really thought, even though the rest of the game was close, that was the play that really gave you guys control.
No question about it, Jack, and that's the play I ended the film session with on Thursday, where we really looked at that. Steve's diving right here, right under our chairs, kicks it, we get a dunk on that end of the floor. Our body language picks up like this is ours tonight, and maybe Georgia Tech starts to doubt a little bit. But there he is, Steve Vastoria, Mr. Dependable, doing a little thing that helps you win a big league game.
Demetrius really had it in overdrive. Now, he didn't shoot the ball very well from the floor, but he did everything else, almost recorded the second triple-double in school history. And I've never seen, just trying to cover him going up the floor, he was wearing out every Georgia Tech defender who was on him.
It's an amazing physical demand on him, what he has to do. He plays long minutes, he's guarding really good players. He had to guard Hunt most of the game, he was getting posted up some. And then he's handling the ball for us and driving that thing against athletic guys. They face guarded him all night, but I thought he was really mature. Shot's not going, I'm gonna drive it. The floor's open because we're 4-round-1. I'm gonna drive it, get fouled. I'm just gonna make 13 free throws in the second half. He has just grown each week with us, and I'm very, very proud of him.
So what's the biggest positive that you took from this victory?
Well, just a grinding physical game. They're throwing it inside with big bodies, and we had to do some physical stuff in the paint. I'm very pleased with Matt Ryan. 7 rebounds and throwing his body around in there. Everybody joined the party on the backboard. Demetrius Jackson, 9 rebounds. Guys coming down there and digging out tough stuff. We had to win a game that kind of way for us to take another step in our growth.
So winning a game like this in gritty fashion, 72-64, gave the Irish some confidence as they headed into Duke for a Saturday game. We'll talk about that later in the show, but coming up, I sit down with one of the most interesting characters ever to play for Notre Dame, Bonzie Colson. Bonzie Colson is the prototypical team guy. He really doesn't care whether he starts or comes off the bench. All he wants to do is win, and he's helping the Irish win this year. He's averaging 11.1 points and 6.9 rebounds per game, but perhaps most impressive, at just 6'5" tall, he leads the team with 21 block shots. The morning after the Georgia Tech victory, I had a chance to sit down with a sophomore from New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Off to Jackson, on over to Ryan now, another three on the way. That one's too strong. Coulson is there for the putback bucket.
What I've noticed is whenever you're on the floor, wherever the basketball is, Bonzie Colson seems to be there, especially on offense. What is that about your game, how you always seem to be in the right place at the right time?
Just have a sense of where the ball is going to drop. Crashing the boards, you can see where the ball is going to land, after it hits the rim. So that's what I try to do, knowing where the ball is going to land. And, if the ball's on the ground, a loose ball, I'll always be the first to try diving on it, block shots. Just doing all the little things, that can help the team win.
Even as a freshman, you were in the lineup, you were out of the lineup. The ACC season started last year. You didn't play in the first 3 games. Go down to Georgia Tech, you get thrown into the game, you get bopped in the face, You're bleeding, and you end up really rallying the team to victory. And I think it was one of the spark plugs to the ACC championship. Where did you get that demeanor?
I think it was from my father. I always try playing with fearless and relentless. I play like it's the last game. You can't take it for granted. It's a blessing to play this game. And, being able to play is just a great feeling. And I just play. I play hard. It's a great, just being out on the court, just being with your team. I just love that feeling. So I just play hard, and I guess my last game.
You touched on your dad, one of the all-time greats at the University of Rhode Island, went on to a long coaching career, including with Al Skinner at Boston College, really during your formative years. So you got to see him work at this game and teach this game. I'm sure he taught some of it to you.
Having my dad as a coach, I was born into the game. Being able to have him as support. He's been through it all. He knows, how recruiting is. He knows, every game is important. He knows how important, the value of, doing everything he can for the team, and having him as my back is just the best thing in the world.
I love going to Boston College now to see how you react. And again, for a lot of players, going home is tough and they don't do well. As a freshman, 16 minutes, 16 points. This year, 16 points again. You love playing on that floor.
I just love playing for my family. That's a great chance for, all my aunts, my cousins, friends, to all support me. I hear them yelling in the crowd. They had fat heads for me. So there's so much energy, when we play at BC, and I love it. I feed off that.
You started the first 15 games this year. In the most recent game, back to your role coming off the bench. How did you react to that when Coach came to you and said, we're going to have to switch things up a bit?
Well, I talked to him and I was just like, anything, to help us win. We're still searching, for identity, and, we needed a big win, and he feels like, I could bring the energy, the heart off the bench like I did last year. I'm cool with that, whatever it takes for us to win. We need to go on a little winning streak in the ACC, and if that's what it takes, and that's what it takes. I'm not worried about it. I just need to go out there and just play my heart out.
What's it like to play for Mike Brey?
I love it. He's cool. He's a smooth guy. I feel. He's fun. To play for. He trusts you. He gives his players the opportunity to talk and to speak for themselves. So, I love Coach Brey. It's great playing for him.
You have to put a scouting report together on Bonzie Colson. What does it say?
I'll say box him out. He could shoot the mid-range, he could post a little bit, don't let him get position, energy guy, does a little bit of everything.
My friend, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Coach, is Bonzie's self-scouting report accurate?
Bonzie Colson's scouting report is right on, and that's why you love coaching him. He knows who he is, he plays to his strengths, he doesn't try to do things he can't do, and man, does he want to win, and he's an energy guy for us.
This week's Ask Coach Brey question and the Fast Break segment coming up right after this brief timeout. It's time now for this week's Ask Coach Brey question presented by the experts at TireRack.com. This week's question comes from Brandon Liss of South Bend. Coach, it seems Demetrius Jackson does something every game to make us admire how athletic he really is. Do you have a favorite athletic play by Demetrius?
One that sticks in my mind this year, Indiana game, second half. against their zone. He gets a semi-tip dunk from the point. He comes down and tips it in. And in the midst of a great game, I kind of go, how did he do that? And watching it on tape on the bus ride back, mind-blowing. But he has a couple every game. He's a unique athlete, and he's a winner.
And this week, he really started to solidify his role as the leader of this team, both on and off the court. On the court, in 2 games, he scored 41 points with 9 rebounds, and he dished out 14 assists. And that performance made him the obvious choice to run this week's Inside Notre Dame Basketball Fast Break. First car you ever drove?
Taurus, Ford Taurus.
Favorite musical group or artist?
Drake and Future.
Who is your role model?
My foster dad.
One thing the public would be surprised to learn about you.
I can dance a little bit.
What did you do on your first date?
Went to the movies.
Favorite NBA player?
Steph Curry.
Favorite part of practice?
Scrimmaging.
Worst part of practice?
Breakdowns with guards with Coach Lowe.
Best part of your game?
Explosiveness.
Part of your game you need to work on?
Decision making.
One thing you always hear from Coach Brey in practice?
Changing gears.
Best leaper on the team?
Myself.
Best defender on the team?
Steve.
Best dunker on the team?
VJ.
Worst dunker on the team?
Chad.
Best dresser on the team?
Zach.
Worst dresser on the team?
Matt G.
Freestyle swimming race, 1 lap. Who wins, you or Coach Brey?
I'm gonna have to go with Coach Brey. He's a good swimmer.
Demetrius really has a finger on the pulse of the abilities of all of his teammates, even your swimming abilities, but he is really stepping up to becoming that great leader on and off the floor.
You know, Jack, you look at his growth since he got to Notre Dame, and it's been nothing but an upward trend. Certainly he's had some, steps back at time, as any young guy would, but I am so proud of the leader, the player, the young man that he's become. And when you play with him, you're more confident.
And this team will have to be confident for this challenging week coming up, a week that begins with a trip to Durham to take on Duke. Everybody knows this is a big week because you get to go to Duke, but what a lot of people don't realize is your next opponent, Virginia Tech, as we tape this, tied with Duke at 3-1 in ACC play. So it's 2 very challenging games.
2 very challenging games, 2 teams ahead of us in the standings. Last year in Cameron, we weren't very good, but I think this year's group, after being in Cameron last year and understanding now the energy in the building, will be better. And certainly Virginia Tech, a little bit of a surprise team in the league, 3-1, some really good wins. You just got to take it week to week, bounce back quick if you have disappointment, keep your group together, and keep moving forward.
Well, win or lose, we know there's going to be lots of highlights this week, and we'll have all the highlights of the Duke and Virginia Tech games on our next show. Until then, for Coach Brey, thanks so much for watching, and go Irish.
Inside Notre Dame Basketball with Mike Brey is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Basketball is also sponsored by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Canon, Xfinity, Meyer, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, SiriusXM Satellite Radio, and UPS.